Mom to More podcast is sponsored by Ally Shoes. Created by a trio of trailblazing women, these shoes are engineered to alleviate pain. That's because every pair of Ally shoes is handcrafted with premium lambskin leather and an ergonomic, cushy insole design. I mean, from the moment you slip them on, you can tell these shoes are wildly different. They cradle your foot with very strategic support and come in every chic, classic, and live out loud color you can imagine. Many of you probably know how obsessed I am with shoes and boots. I love the 3-inch classic heel, high enough to make your legs look gorgeous, and you can literally wear these all day. And the chunky heel ankle boots, timeless, modern, and every time I wear them, people ask who makes them. Plus, they come in so many sizes and widths that every shoe feels custom to your foot. And I'm sharing the love with all of you. Head on over to ally.nyc, where new customers and listeners of the podcast will get $40 off your first pair of heels with special code MOMTOMORE40, and get 10% off your first pair of boots and flats with special code MOMTOMORE10. Moms, meet your ally in fashion who are reimagining how comfort and function support women every day. Check them out, ally.nyc. Welcome to the podcast where motherhood meets reinvention. I'm your host, Sharon Macey, and this is Mom to More. I'll be speaking with remarkable moms who have embraced the art of transformation, crafting their more by leveraging the skills they hone as stay-at-home moms. They'll share their experiences, struggles, and successes as they return to a former career, pursued a passion or hobby, or charted an entirely new path, giving you the clarity, motivation, and inspiration to help you answer the question, what do you want to do when your kids grow up? Welcome back. Well, today is a really fun celebration for me. I cannot believe it, but it has been a year since I started the Mom to More podcast. And just to shake things up today, I've invited my friend, Lee Woodruff, who is just so amazing in her own right. Hi again, Lee. Nice to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you. And today we are going to flip the tables. So Lee is going to be interviewing me. So you guys are going to learn all about me in a way that we haven't really before. And I'm really excited, a little nervous. And so we are just going to start the episode with Lee introducing me, and we're going to take it from there. How does that sound, Lee?
I think that sounds great. We're going to turn the tables on you and drill down on who you are, why you started the podcast, and what's your best advice.
Terrific.
But I should probably tell everybody a little bit about you, right? Because as the host, you're always talking about other people.
That is true. So go ahead.
All right. I'm going to read because, I don't want to get anything wrong. But Sharon is obviously a mom and a wife and a content creator, motivational speaker, and host of Mom to More, which is a fabulous podcast, and now you're going to be a true believer. She's a self-described mother of reinvention and started Mom to More community for women rediscovering themselves beyond motherhood, not motherhead, but that too, sharing the multifaceted, diverse, and often untold stories of moms and their personal transformations. Sharon enjoyed a successful career as an award-winning copywriter and marketer before proudly embracing the role of stay-at-home mom. And during all those years of raising her fabulous kids, she had an epiphany. While doing all of the expected mom things, she realized she developed many skills and knowledge that equipped her for a range of pursuits outside the house. Does that sound familiar to anybody out there? Being a stay-at-home mom does not mean that you stay at home, right, Sharon?
100%.
So this realization and this skill set served as the foundation for her own personal reinvention, ignited a passion to help other stay-at-home moms use the talent, gifts, and skills they often don't realize they have to fulfill them more. I love this part. She continues to pursue her personal passions as a competitive Latin ballroom dancer. Girl, I'm going to ask you about that. A home cook, I'm coming over for dinner, and an avid world traveler. So that's going to lead me to a lot of really fun questions. And thank you so much for asking me to do this with you today.
Well, I'm so thrilled you to do this. So I am ready to jump in, and let's start the interview, Lee.
Let's go. Well, let's start with those who may not know about the podcast or what it encompasses. So tell us, we'll get to the genesis, but first, what is Mom to More?
So Mom to More is a podcast and a community for women rediscovering themselves beyond motherhood. And I had a vision to really reframe the way that women in our society think about a woman's time raising kids. And the genesis of this is really, yes, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I did this for almost 20 years. And throughout that time, I kept asking myself things like, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I realized that the question was, what am I really want to do when my kids grow up? And I am looking at all of this time as a stay-at-home mom, and we do so many things. And often we just really blow them off, the leadership roles and the organizational roles. And there's a gazillion things that we do, as everyone is aware. And then I realized, well, what if everything that we're doing as stay-at-home moms prepares us for our next step? And that, basically being a stay-at-home mom is like a prologue to what you're going to do after your kids grow up. Everything that we do, from leadership roles, party planning, arguing with your kids, negotiating, those are all viable and marketable skills that I believe, or that I know, can take us into whatever it is we want to do, for our second, third, fourth chapter in life.
Well, and having been a mom who also raised kids in the suburbs, was always in some way or shape in the working world as well, sort of a hybrid. I know that that's been the challenge for so many of my friends. They stepped out of incredibly high pressure, big jobs, chose to get on the track to be home with the kids. And I think that's a career choice that couples make. I certainly took a step back for my husband's career as well. And that's a personal choice. If somebody wants to be there to raise the kids, someone's going to have to do that. And then when the kids are grown, they're sort of, how do I transfer those skills? And what you just described is the dilemma for so many moms I know. So this must have really resonated when you started talking about launching it.
Absolutely. And I thought, if I could reinvent myself, and going back to, I have like 3 pillars in the podcast. It's, you could go back to a career that you had before, and what does that look like? Whether it includes re-education, could you just segue back into your former career? Pursuing a passion or a hobby. Maybe you don't want to do anything except paint or cook or dance or, whatever it is that you put aside for the kids. Or what I'm finding, Lee, which is really interesting, is that moms have this incredible entrepreneurial spirit. And so many of the moms that I've spoken with are charting just entirely new pathways. And if you had said to them 5 years prior, you're going to be doing X 5 years from now, they say, no way.
Well, and isn't that the interesting part of life? There's always a wonder around the corner. Sometimes it's not so wondrous. Life has its ups and downs. But I think the thing that I responded so much to about your podcast and about your message is life goes in chapters. Life isn't necessarily going to be one thing just scrolling out into the future the same way. And there's something really exciting about that. I want to hear, like, in the range of people that you've had on over this last year, give me 3 quick examples of some of your most maybe disparate, interesting. They're all interesting, I realize that, but people who have met that challenge that you're talking about.
It's been so interesting. What a great question. The women that I've interviewed, and several of them I knew before, and I saw how they had grown and, I guess, morphed right over their time, while they were home with their kids, and yet doing some things slowly on the side. So they were really slowly building their businesses. What have I learned from my podcast guests? It's been immeasurable. I mean, I got so much mom wisdom from you, from our episode, that yes, life goes in chapters. And there was a wonderful thing about advice, asking your kids for advice, or asking them if you can give advice. That is terrific. And I am using that with my grown kids now. I think what I've learned from all these women is that every great idea starts small, and that it could take 15 plus years for, to actually create your more, but you're slowly building it over time. You're iterating, you're trying, you're failing, you're trying better, you're failing a little better. And it's really creating that future vision one day at a time. And what I think is really important also is following your passions. So many of these women, and I'll point out Allison Brune from The Style That Binds Us. Allison, good old Southern girl, and it was cool to work on your house, but it was not really cool to work on you. to make sure that you look as best as you can look. And that was just something that was a passion of her. And oftentimes things change after like a divorce. And she found herself in New York and going back to school and then starting this incredible media company with her daughter Delia. And it's just, I'm so proud of her for the work that she's done. I look at someone like our friend Joan Hornig, another shout out.
Yeah.
Joan went right back to work, as she said, as soon as she could put her skirt on. And then 9/11 happened and she realized, no, I need to be with my girls. And then as the self-described artsy girl, she started doing a beading class. And now she makes incredible jewelry, some of which I'm wearing today, which I absolutely love it. I have my microphone. That makes a lot of sense.
And the barbell. Barbell.
I know, this is succeed. So I think my listeners know that I love working out and I'm a real proponent of strength training for women. And then also what Joan did was she created a philanthropic business model that didn't exist before. And so I look at a couple of these examples and I am in awe of these women, of just the work that they've done and how they methodically have done it year over year to create something so beautiful and unique and uniquely them. And I think that's what's so wonderful about the women that I'm privileged to meet in this podcast and just the lessons that I'm taking out from that.
I want to go back to basics. Let's talk about your kids. Who are they? What was that journey like? Decision to stay at home? Let's go back to the very beginning.
Okay. We have 3 kids and they're all in their 20s now. And it was a definite discussion and a decision that I was going to be the one to, I guess, dial back my career, which is advertising and marketing. And my husband definitely had higher earning potential than I did. But also his mom was a stay-at-home mom. My mom had been a stay-at-home mom. And so I guess we were used to that. And I thought I could work. Like I had one advertising client, one writing client that I kept until right after our second child was born, our daughter. And I realized I'm overwhelmed, I'm outnumbered. And so I really had to give that up then. It was so important for us to be there. And I know that at times my husband is kind of wistful about the fact that he was working and I was home. And I was there for everything from the first tooth falling out to the first haircut, to the first meltdown in a grocery store. I was there to experience it. And it was the hardest job of my life. And I say this because having been there, I know every mom listening to this knows that being a mom is the toughest job on the planet. And you deal with so much stuff, but you also gain an extraordinary amount of skills, which, I know we'll go into later. But our kids are now grown and flown. Our youngest is just graduated college. We move on and we're empty nest and we're loving it. We still have a dog, so empty nest-ish. The journey, seeing our kids grow from these little malleable beings to the strong and opinionated and just lovely humans who understand the importance of giving back. And we're really proud of all 3 of them.
I'm curious because not every mom has the luxury to stay at home. There are many moms who can't make that choice. So what do you say to those moms? Not about the choice to stay home. Isn't it wonderful to be able to do that? But what do you say to them about Mom to More? Where does that fit in? Because you certainly have a message for them too. It's not just about the stay-at-home mom.
Absolutely. This is not just about stay-at-home moms, but about moms who are also working, who might want another chapter once the kids are grown. We are all doing the mom job, whether it's all day or when we come home. We have arrived at this stage in life when we've given our kids all of our best stuff. It's a pivot time, and that is what we are celebrating. Honoring the fact that women are doing all sorts of amazing things that are work. And now there is this inflection moment that is ours alone when we can ask, what do I want to do? I actually had a wonderful mom on recently, Sean Pitt, who bootstrapped her way up and she had to be a working mom, but how she reinvented herself and what she created in her life was so extraordinary that I felt I really needed to tell her story. And so I say to those moms who are working and raising kids, God bless you, because it is double duty and it is such a difficult thing to have to do. And your kids don't know any different. They know that that is their life and that is cool with them. And I guarantee they're going to, years from now, they're going to look back at you and say, we can't imagine having a mom who didn't work. Or if you have kids when you were a stay-at-home parent, kids will say to you, we can't imagine having a mom who did work. So I think it's very personal. And every woman who is so resourceful and bright, you make it work to the best of your abilities, and your kids love you no matter what.
That is so true. That is absolutely true. So, what was the moment? What was the lightning moment when you said, I'm going to start a podcast? I'm feeling like the way that I'm feeling is I'm not alone. And there are a lot of other voices out there. Talk about that aha moment.
Thank you. That's such a good question. And it's so interesting to have these tables turned on me, Lee. I got to tell you, it's very, very, very different.
Fun to be interviewed, right? You get to tell your story. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the aha moment was having lived that life and wondering, what am I going to do when my kids grow up? I knew other moms who had been through this, and I thought, there are so many women who are dealing with this. And I thought the only way to really do this would be to do a podcast. And I knew nothing about podcasting. I started on Zoom. I had my earplug, my little Apple earplug. And I reached out to a friend and I said, I'm starting a podcast and I know that you were home with your kids. And then she is a visual artist and a photographer, and she's extraordinary. Her name is Ellen Friedlander. And I said, may I interview you? And she said, absolutely. So we really started, as I like to say, with a little research, yet flying by the seat of my pants. And I just thought, I need to get this out there. And so it began. And then just reached out to a couple other people that I know, a couple other women that I knew. And then what started happening is some of my guests started introducing me to other guests, which is how I met you.
Which is how we met, from Joan. Yeah, exactly. So that's the network.
There's the network. Yeah. And I just thought it needed to get out because the message was so important. And I knew that I was not the only woman stayed home with her kids and then who found the bravery and the craziness, to say, what is it that I want for myself for the next 30, 40 years of my life? What is it that I want to do and how do I make that happen? And I think the podcast for me is it's sort of a merging of the talents that I have. I love talking, and that has been actually something learned over the years. And I love learning about people, and I love sort of exploring where they're coming from, how they did things, how they got to where they are now, and then what can I learn from that? So my hope is that the takeaway from this podcast is that women listen to it and they either get that sort of loving kick in the pants to go, okay, I can do this now. And with, tips and tricks and steps, actionable tips that they can take to begin that reinvention journey on their own, or if they've already started it, to help them further along that pathway.
And I imagine you're getting some of that feedback already.
Absolutely. It's been wonderful, actually, quite frankly. Good. So, and a little surprising, but maybe not surprising, because I think this really resonates. And I realized that while there are a lot of podcasts out there, moms in all stages of motherhood, or I call them mommydom, and there's a lot of podcasts about women reinventing. But to my knowledge, I am the only podcast that really focuses in on the extraordinary lives of women who have spent a period of time home with their kids and then have gone on to reinvent and create their incredible next chapters, or what I'm calling their more.
So that begs the question, when you listen to podcasts, what are your top 5 that you listen to, and where do you get inspiration?
Good question. I have really loved listening to Zibby Owens. Moms don't have time to read books. I love Katie Fogarty's A Certain Age podcast. I have learned so much from her. I also like newsy ones as well. So I'll listen to both the Journal and the Daily. I also love Huberman Labs because I'm really into health and fitness. They're long, but he really has some extraordinary information on there. I also love Tara Cook's Modern Mom Problems. And there's just so many fabulous mom podcasts out there.
Well, I've got one to add to your basket. I've got one, the Julia Louis-Dreyfus podcast. I don't know if you've listened. So great.
Her, yeah. Wiser Than Me. And
Wiser Than Me. And at this stage, we're not 20 anymore. So there's that aspect of momdom that is also aging mom and what that looks like and how we own that and step into that. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. We're not 25 anymore, girlfriend. So what does that feel like? We're still moms.
We're still moms. We will always be moms. We will always have license to worry. And what I love about Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Wiser Than Me is she's speaking with women like Carol Burnett and Jane Fonda.
Yes. Yeah.
Good stuff. So I think as women, whether in your 50s or 60s or beyond, we're not done, right? We have so much more inside of us that is viable and exciting and energetic. And we have so much wisdom and grace and experience from all the years that we have been living, not just the years that we were with the kids, but just all of our life experiences, that I am so jazzed by the businesses that a lot of the women I've spoken with have gone on and created. And I think there's no stopping us. We are at an age where anything is possible, and we're living longer, we're healthier, we're taking care of ourselves better. And I say, go for it, ladies. We are unstoppable. And that's what I love about the women that I've been meeting who are midlife and older. It's just just some really kick-ass women, and I'm super proud to know them. And I will include you in that as well, Lee, because I love the work that you do. And I'm just really so thrilled that we are connected.
Well, it's wonderful to have a bunch of women in your kitchen cabinet. That is for sure. I know two things. Number one, you just got your first sponsor, which is a huge milestone for a podcast. So I want to hear about that. And then after that, I want to hear what do you think your kids would say is the best advice you gave them? But let's start with your sponsor. That's exciting.
Let's start. Yeah. So a year in, yay, I have my first sponsor. Mom to More is being sponsored by Ally Shoes. And Ally is this really innovative fashion brand created for women, by women, and they are known for their signature pain-free heels. And I have the ankle boots with the chunky heel, and I've got the classic pumps, and they are handcrafted with this like lambskin, really soft lambskin leather, but they have this really cool technical stretchy lining and precise cushioning like under 3 points of your foot, like the heel, the arch, and the toe crest. However they do that, it makes it like walking on air. And I absolutely am obsessed with these shoes. They are chic, they are classic, they're super comfy. And what's so cool about them is they have a wide range of sizes from 4 to 12 and with 4 different widths. So every shoe really feels customized to your foot, and they also help you find the perfect size. So I am inviting all of my listeners to head on over to Ally, which is ALLY.NYC. And I'm sharing the love with all of you because Ally is giving new customers and listeners of the Mom to More podcast $40 off your first pair of heels with the special code, Mom to More 40, and 10% off your first pair of boots and flats with special code Mom to More 10. So I'm asking everyone to please take advantage of it today. Check it out. And you're going to be as thrilled with these shoes as I am. So I'm super excited.
I'm imagining they can go to your website and get all those codes and everything again.
All this information will be in the show notes as well as on my website, momtomore.com.
That's great. Who doesn't want comfortable shoes?
So your other question, which I thought was really good, was what is the best mom advice I've given my kids? And you know what? I asked my kids because I wanted to find out from their perspective what they thought was some of the best mom advice that I had given them. So I will lead with what they told me. And they said, lead with kindness. They said, your body is a temple. we've always talked about really just taking care of yourself, eating healthfully. My son, which I thought was kind of funny, no sodium lauryl sulfate in your body wash. Which is very true, right? We want to have as clean products on our body as possible. And also, if you want something, you need to ask for it, right? Sometimes no one is a mind reader. And if there's something that you would like, you can kindly ask, lead with kindness, and ask for something. So whether it's in a job, whether it's, asking someone to be on a podcast, you just ask.
So I love that.
Yeah. And that was from them. I thought, I'm going to get it right from the horse's mouth and see what the kids have said about that. So I thought those were I was thrilled to hear what they had to say and honored by that as well.
I think you got a book idea there. What are the pieces of advice that our children remember that we told them, and what are they taking with them once they're grown and flown? Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that.
That is a good idea, Lee. Thank you for that.
You got it. It's your brand. All right, we are getting close to the end of this incredible interview. I'm thinking about, we've talked about moms on the other end of the spectrum, like you and I, whose children are out the door. Although, as you said, you always have license to worry. What do you say to the new mom, or the mom that just had her second child, who's feeling overwhelmed and can't even imagine what life is going to look like beyond this stage? What lifeline do you have for the person who is missing that part of herself that put on heels and went out to an office and had, rosé at the end of the day?
Right. I would say, first of all, I feel your pain because been there, done that. And I also know that it is very possible to really try to maintain a lifeline to yourself. So depending on what your job was, your career was, that you decided to put on pause, try to stay relevant with it, whether it's, journal, newsletters, whatever it is that you can do to stay relevant within your industry. I think that's really important. And also something that I think is really important for moms, take a little time for yourself every single day. And I know, having been there, that it's really hard to do, but if you have to stay in the bathroom 5 minutes longer than you otherwise would, you need to do that for yourself, because making sure that you are honoring who you are and the extraordinary job that you're doing of raising the next generation of human beings for this planet, really be with that and know that you matter within all of this. Because if you can't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of your kids. And this always reminds me of being on an airplane and the oxygen comes down. You've got to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can help the child sitting next to you. And so I think that is really important for moms, is just, whether it's small, you may be, after a while, if the kids are in school, you want to take a class. Just do something that will help you stay connected to what you had done before that.
I love that. All right, we are sort of at the end here, so I have one last question for you. What question did I not ask you that you would like to share knowledge, wisdom, and anecdote with all of your listeners?
Well, the question that I like to ask my moms at the end is, what is your more? And so I was thinking about that, and I realized that the answer for me is really multi-dimensional. I feel blessed to be able to have this podcast on my platform and reaching women who are going through what I went through, and being able to help moms craft their own narratives and authoring the future life chapters that reflect sort of their renewed sense of self. I find this to be just incredibly rewarding, and it's a ton of work, and I'm having so much fun doing it. Another more is take more risks. Like, what are you waiting for, right? And for whatever reason, I am totally cool with stepping outside of my comfort zone. I know that many women are afraid to try and afraid to fail. And I really don't like that word, because you're not failing, you're learning what doesn't work. And then you're able to iterate, and then you're able to figure out what works a little better, and you can pivot and go down that lane. And so you're learning what works for you. And I think that is so powerful for any woman. So my advice would be, take more risks. I mean, I actually tried something, toward the end of when the kids were getting a little older. I tried media sales. I was horrible at it. I sucked at it. So I knew, okay, media sales, not for me. But that was a really good lesson. And I learned something about myself. And another thing for me is I will never stop being an advocate for underserved children. I have been involved with a local charity for over 15 years. I've been on its board. I'm now on their advisory committee. It is a passion of mine that will endure forever because we all know that the future is our children. And so that is just something that really is near and dear to my heart.
Well, and I'm going to add to that in my own little piece of wisdom, what you just said, that give back part. When you are at home with the kids and maybe you don't have the ability to do a paycheck job, it doesn't matter whether there's a check involved or not, but find a way in your community to do something that gives back, because there is no greater sense of filling your heart than knowing you're doing something for somebody else. And on those days when everyone is a taker and you're touched out, and I mean a taker as in your children, you're giving. This is the kind of giving that fills your tank, and you're helping your community or a cohort of people like children. So good for you, because I think that's a big piece of those years,
well,
all years.
Thank you. And that's so important, but also we're setting an example for our kids. Our kids still are involved with this one nonprofit that's local. They are finding other ways to give back in the communities that they're living in now. And I just think you feel so good knowing that you are doing something good for another human being. And that is, I feel that we have that obligation to help the world and to be, we are part of the world. So it's our obligation to pay it forward.
I think that's a wonderful place to end. And this has been a wonderful experience to interview you. I hope you've had fun being on the other end of the camera.
I have had so much fun. It's going to be really interesting to listen to this. And
good for you, because I don't think I've ever gone back and listened to one damn podcast I've ever been on. I can't stand my own voice. So
I have to do the editing on this. So I'm going to be part of it. Lee, I'm so grateful to you for your time in taking on this challenge, and your questions are brilliant. And I am just grateful for your time. So I want to thank you for doing this.
Well, I'm excited to watch this next year and watch everything grow, and more sponsors, more listeners. It's all going in the right direction.
Thank you. It's a gift, and it's been so much fun. So here we go, ladies.
Good.
Where can people find me online? Check out the website at momtomore.com, on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at momtomore, and on LinkedIn at Sharon Macey. Before I sign off, a quick favor. I would love it if you would take a few moments to follow or subscribe to the pod. Following us means you'll never miss an episode, and it really does help the show to grow. Just go to the Mom to More show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen in. Tap the plus sign in the upper right corner or click on follow. While you're there, if you'd be willing to leave a 5-star rating and review and share an episode with another mom, I'd be so grateful and appreciate your support. Thanks for listening in, and see you next time.